BZ Watchdog News Network.
Now let's talk about Deputy Sonya Hernandez. Sonya Hernandez was not some random person throwing accusations from the sidelines. She was a deputy. She worked inside law enforcement. She wore the badge. She understood the chain of command. She understood the culture. And she understood exactly how much power a sheriff has over someone's career. And that is why this story matters. Because when the person accused is the sheriff, we are not talking about two equal people having some workplace disagreement. We are talking about an elected law enforcement official, the man at the top of the agency, and a deputy who, according to her, had to deal with unwanted conduct, harassment, retaliation, and eventually career sabotage. That power imbalance is possible to ignore. A sheriff can influence reputations. A sheriff can influence background checks. A sheriff can influence whether another agency feels comfortable hiring someone. And according to Deputy Hernandez, that is exactly what happened after she tried to move on. She alleges this was not just inappropriate behavior. She alleges it turned into harassment, retaliation, intimidation, and interference with her future in law enforcement. And here's the real question. If a deputy cannot come forward against the sheriff without risking her career, then what message does that send to every other employee in that department? Because this is not just about Deputy Sonya Hernandez. This is about whether people in power are allowed to use the badge as a shield while everyone beneath them is expected to stay quiet, take it, and move on. And this is exactly why the public deserves answers. Now we get to the part where the story starts moving out of rumor territory and into documented communications. This is where the text messages and screenshots come in. As these messages go up on the screen, I want you to pay close attention to the timeline, the tone, and the pattern. Because according to Deputy Sonya Hernandez, these messages are part of a much bigger story. One involving harassment, retaliation, intimidation, and conduct that she says crossed the line. In these screenshots, the blue sender has been identified as Deputy Sonya Hernandez. And as you read through these exchanges, ask yourself a simple question. Does this look like a normal, professional dynamic inside a law enforcement agency, or does it look like something far more troubling? One message by itself might get brushed off. Two messages might get excused away. But when you start stacking them together, when you start placing them in order, and when you start comparing them to the allegations Deputy Hernandez has made, a pattern begins to emerge. And that is why these screenshots matter. They are not just random messages floating around on the internet. They are part of the timeline. They are part of the context. And they help show what Deputy Hernandez says she was dealing with behind the scenes. Now, to be clear, these messages are being shown as part of the allegations and for public interest review. They are not by themselves a court ruling. They are not a conviction, but they are evidence the public has a right to examine, especially when the person accused is the sheriff. And that is the key here. When serious allegations are made against an elected law enforcement official, the standard should not be look away and hope it goes away. The standard should be scrutiny. The standard should be transparency. The standard should be accountability. So as these screenshots appear on the screen, take your time and read them. Look at the wording. Look at the sequence. Look at how they fit into the broader timeline Deputy Hernandez has described. Because this is where the receipts start showing up. And once the receipts start showing up, the excuses start getting a lot harder to sell. Now let's move from the private messages to the public behavior. Because this story does not stop with text messages. It also includes Facebook posts and public online activity that raise even more questions about judgment, professionalism, and possible misconduct. And when you are talking about a sitting sheriff, public conduct matters. This is not some random guy arguing online. This is the elected law enforcement official of the county. This is the person trusted to lead deputies, enforce the law, protect the public, and maintain confidence in the sheriff's office. So when public posts start lining up with private allegations, the public has every right to ask, is this isolated behavior or is this a pattern? As these Facebook posts appear on screen, pay attention to the dates, the language, the tone, and the people involved. Look at how these posts fit into the broader timeline Deputy Sonya Hernandez has described. Because according to Hernandez, the issue is not just one bad comment, one awkward message, or one moment of poor judgment. She alleges a pattern of harassment, intimidation, retaliation, and conduct that affected her personally and professionally. And these public posts may help explain why those allegations cannot just be brushed aside. Now, let me be clear. Public posts do not automatically prove every allegation, but they can provide context. They can show behavior. They can show attitude. They can show how someone in power conducts themselves when they think nobody's going to hold them accountable. And when that post involves a sheriff, that becomes a public interest issue. The sheriff's office is not supposed to operate like a personal kingdom. The badge is not supposed to be a permission slip for intimidation. And public office is not supposed to be a shield from scrutiny. So as we go through these posts, remember what this is really about. It is about whether Sheriff Billy Williams' public conduct matches the professionalism expected from someone holding one of the most powerful law enforcement positions in the county. It is about whether Deputy Hernandez's allegations are being taken seriously. And it is about whether local officials are willing to confront uncomfortable evidence or whether they are hoping the public never looks closely enough to connect the dots. Because once again, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and these posts deserve sunlight. Now this is where the allegations take an even darker turn. According to Deputy Sonya Hernandez, after she tried to move on from the situation and continue her law enforcement career at another department, she had trouble getting hired because Sheriff Billy Williams allegedly interfered with or sabotaged her background check. Let that sink in for a second. Because if that allegation is true, then it is not just about harassment. This is about retaliation. This is about power. This is about whether an elected sheriff used his position and influence to punish a deputy after she tried to get away from alleged misconduct. And that is exactly why this deserves an independent investigation. A sheriff has influence. A sheriff's words carry weight. A sheriff can affect reputations, background checks, references, hiring decisions, and whether another agency decides to take a chance on somebody. So when Deputy Hernandez says her career was impacted after leaving, the public has every right to ask, what was said, who said it, when was it said, and was it truthful? Because if a sheriff can allegedly harass somebody, then allegedly interfere with their ability to work somewhere else, what message does that send to every other deputy, dispatcher, jailer, or employee? Stay quiet? Don't complain? Don't report misconduct? Don't cross the boss? That is not public service. That is intimidation. That is exactly the kind of alleged abuse of power that destroys trust inside a department and damages public confidence outside of it. And let's be clear, this is not just a personnel issue. This is not gossip. This is not courthouse rumor mill nonsense. This is a serious allegation that the elected sheriff may have used his official influence to damage a former deputy's future employment. That raises questions about retaliation. It raises questions about intimidation. It raises questions about abuse of office. It raises questions about official oppression. And it raises questions about whether local officials are willing to investigate the sheriff with the same energy they would investigate anyone else. Because if Deputy Hernandez's allegations are true, then this was not just about what happened while she worked there. It followed her, it affected her future, and that is where accountability has to step in. Now, this is the part where words stop being filtered through other people and the spotlight shifts directly to Sheriff Billy Williams himself. Because when serious allegations are made against a sitting sheriff, there comes a moment where the public deserves to hear whether he is willing to answer for them. This was not the moment. I placed a phone call directly to Sheriff Billy Williams and gave him an opportunity to respond. Not through a spokesman, not through a carefully worded press release, not through courthouse gossip, a direct chance to address the allegations and tell the public his side. And that matters, because this is a credibility moment. When an elected law enforcement official is accused of sexual harassment, retaliation, intimidation, and career sabotage, the public should not be left with silence and shrugs. The public deserves answers. What you are about to hear is a short phone call, about 30 seconds. But sometimes 30 seconds tells you a whole lot. Sometimes it tells you whether someone is prepared to confront the allegations. Sometimes it tells you whether someone wants transparency. And sometimes it tells you that the person in power would rather avoid the questions than answer them. So as this call plays, pay attention not just to the words, but to the tone, the response, and what is missing. Because this was Sheriff Billy Williams' opportunity, his opportunity to deny the allegations, his opportunity to explain himself, his opportunity to tell the public why Deputy Sonya Hernandez is wrong, if that is his position, his opportunity to clear the air. Instead of hearing about him, this was the chance to speak for himself.
Sheriff's office.
Yeah, I was trying to get a hold of Sheriff Billy Williams.
This is him.
Sir, my name's Basil Zangari. I'm with BZWG News. I was reaching out to you to see if you had a few minutes for comment.
Okay.
There's been some serious allegations that have come across my desk regarding sexual harassment regarding you and your department, regarding a female deputy that is no longer there.
Okay.
And I just kind of wanted to see if you had some sort of comment or what may have transpired.
No, I got no comment at this time as it's retaliation purposes, and with everything else involved, I have no comment.
Okay, you don't plan on taking your life or anything, right? Because I do have text messages that said otherwise.
No, sir.
Okay, and what about your relationship with the DA?
Like I said, sir, no comment.
Okay, well, thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate your time, sir.
You bet. Have a good day.
All right. And there you have it. That was the response opportunity. That was the moment for Sheriff Billy Williams to address serious public allegations tied to his conduct. Now, maybe he thinks 30 seconds is enough. Maybe he thinks silence is a strategy. Maybe he thinks if he says as little as possible, the story will just go away. But that is not how accountability works. When the allegations are this serious, and when the person accused is the sheriff, the public is entitled to more than avoidance. The public is entitled to answers. And if Sheriff Billy Williams does not want to fully respond now, that is his choice. But the questions are not going away. In fact, after hearing that call, the questions only get louder. Now let's talk about the question hanging over this entire story. Where is District Attorney Allison Palmer? Because when serious allegations are made against a sitting sheriff, allegations of sexual harassment, retaliation, intimidation, and possible abuse of official influence, according to Deputy Hernandez, the public has every right to know whether the district attorney's office has reviewed the matter, declined the matter, ignored the matter, or is simply hoping nobody asks too many questions. And that is exactly why I reached out for comment. I sent a request to District Attorney Allison Palmer's office asking for a response. I asked for comment on the allegations, on whether the matter had been reviewed for prosecution, and on whether there was any reason for the office not to act. As of the time of this recording, no response has been received. No public explanation, no clarification, no denial, no statement about whether the case was reviewed, no statement about whether recusal was considered, no statement about whether the matter was referred to another agency or prosecutor, just silence. And when the accused is the sheriff, that silence speaks volumes. Because this is not some minor issue the public should shrug off. This is a public integrity question. This is a justice question. This is a question of whether the law applies equally, or whether certain people in certain offices get treated differently when allegations start pointing in their direction. So here is the key question, and it is a simple one. Has District Attorney Allison Palmer reviewed these allegations for prosecution? And if the answer is yes, what happened? And if the answer is no, why not? If there is a conflict, what recusal considered? If this office cannot fairly handle the matter, was it referred to the Attorney General's Public Integrity Unit or to an independent prosecutor? These are not unreasonable questions. These are the bare minimum questions the public should be asking. Because when the top law enforcement officer in the county is accused of serious misconduct, the public should not be left staring at an inbox full of silence and pretending that counts as transparency. If the district attorney's office has an explanation, now is the time to give it. If it reviewed the allegations, the public deserves to know that. If it declined action, the public deserves to know why. And if nobody in power wants to touch this because the accused wears a badge and carries political influence, then that is exactly why the public needs to keep pushing. Because justice is not supposed to depend on your title. And accountability is not supposed to disappear the moment the spotlight lands on one of their own. Now, this is where the public comes in. Because accountability does not happen when everybody stays quiet. Accountability happens when citizens pick up the phone, send emails, show up, ask questions, and refuse to let serious allegations get buried under courthouse silence. So here is the call to action. Contact District Attorney Allison Palmer's office and respectfully demand answers. Ask whether the allegation involving Sheriff Billy Williams and Deputy Sonya Hernandez have been reviewed. Ask whether the District Attorney's office intends to seek an indictment if the evidence supports criminal charges. Ask whether there is a conflict of interest that prevents the office from handling this fairly. And ask whether this matter should be referred to an independent prosecutor or to the Texas Attorney General Public Integrity Unit. Because when the accused is the sheriff, the public cannot just assume the local system is handling it behind closed doors. No. The public deserves to know. Was this investigated? Was it presented to a grand jury? Was it declined? Was it ignored? Was there a conflict? Was there a referral? And if the answer is silence, then the silence deserves sunlight. Now let me be crystal clear. Do not harass anyone. Do not threaten anyone. And do not act stupid and give them an excuse to avoid the real issue. Be respectful. Be professional. But be firm. Send an email. Make a phone call. Ask for answers. Show up to Commissioner's Court. Demand accountability. Because this is not about attacking public officials. This is about making sure public officials do their jobs when serious allegations involve one of their own. A sheriff should not get special treatment. A deputy should not have to lose her career for speaking up. And the public should not have to beg for transparency when allegations involve sexual harassment, retaliation, intimidation, stalking concerns, background interference, and possible abuse of official oppression. So contact the district attorney's office, ask the questions, document the response, and if there is no response, document that too. Because silence is not transparency. Silence is not accountability. And silence sure as hell is not justice. So let's recap exactly what this story is about. According to Deputy Hernandez, Sheriff Billy Williams engaged in serious misconduct that she says included sexual harassment, retaliation, intimidation, stalking concerns, and interference with her career after she tried to move on. Then we look at the text messages and screenshots, the part of the story where the receipts start showing up, messages, context, timelines, and communications that the public deserves to examine for itself. After that, we moved into the Facebook post and other public activity that raised even more questions about judgment, professionalism, and whether this conduct reflects a bigger pattern. Then came the phone call with Sheriff Billy Williams, a direct opportunity for him to respond to the allegations and address the public, a credibility moment, a chance to explain, a chance to deny, a chance to confront the accusations head on. And then there is the district attorney's office. I reached out to District Attorney Allison Palmer for comment, and as of this recording, no response has been received. So that leaves the public with 5 simple realities. Deputy Hernandez has made serious allegations. There are messages and screenshots tied to the timeline. There are Facebook posts raising additional concerns. Sheriff Billy Williams was given an opportunity to respond, and the district attorney's office has not answered yet. That is where things stand. And now the question becomes, what happens next? Does this get ignored? Does it get brushed aside because the accused wears a badge and holds office? Does the system protect one of its own? Or do the people of this county demand a real review, real answers, and real accountability? Because this case is bigger than one allegation and bigger than one office. It is about whether public officials are held to the same standard as everyone else. It is about whether a deputy can come forward without allegedly having her career damaged. And it is about whether justice in this county depends on the facts or on who you are connected to. That is the question hanging over all of this. And until the public gets real answers, that question is not going away. At the end of the day, this is what accountability is supposed to look like. Not silence, not excuses, not backroom protection for people in power, and not a justice system that suddenly forgets how to work when the allegations point at the sheriff. This story, according to Deputy Hernandez, and the evidence reviewed, raises serious questions that the public deserves answers to. Questions about harassment, questions about retaliation, questions about abuse of power, and questions about whether the people responsible for acting are going to do their jobs or keep hiding behind silence. Because when a deputy says she was mistreated, retaliated against, and had her career harmed, that is not something the public should ignore. And when the accused is the sheriff, sunlight is not optional. It is necessary. So we are going to keep asking the questions. We are going to keep following the evidence. And we are going to keep demanding answers from Sheriff Billy Williams, from District Attorney Allison Palmer's office, and from every public official who thinks the story is just going to disappear like David Copperfield if they stay quiet long enough. It won't, because sunlight is the best disinfectant, and 2026 is the year of accountability. If you believe public officials should be held to the same standard as everyone else, make sure you like this video, drop your thoughts in the comment, share this everywhere, and subscribe to BZ Watchdog News Network for updates. Stay loud, stay watching, and never let the people in power get too comfortable in the dark. I'm BZ with BZ Watchdog News Network, and I'll see you in the next video.
BZ Watchdog News Network.